Welcome to the deep dive. We take the source material you need, crack it open, and extract the most critical insights, giving you the shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we are tackling a dogma. We're going right after the conventional wisdom drilled into us since we were kids, really, the whole philosophy of get rich slow.
Right.
We're looking at a really counterintuitive approach,
Right.
one designed for genuine wealth acceleration, not decades of dreary sacrifice.
That's it. Our sources offer a powerful, sometimes even abrasive critique of what they call the Great Deception.
The Great Deception.
Yeah, and that's the advice we all know. Go to college, get a good job, save 10%, max out your 401k, and then, retire a wealthy septuagenarian.
Right, when you're 75.
Exactly. The premise here is that there's another way, a psychological and a mathematical formula that lets you achieve wealth, and this is the critical part, freedom, while you're still young enough to actually enjoy it.
And this whole philosophy, it really started with this one iconic moment for the author. He was a teenager in Chicago, and he sees a car, a Lamborghini Countach.
I mean, a legendary car.
Legendary. But it wasn't just the car, it was the driver. He was a young guy, maybe 25 at the most, wearing jeans and an Iron Maiden shirt.
So not the stereotype at all.
Not at all. And the author, he gets up the courage and asks him the one question we all want the answer to. How can you possibly afford that car?
And that became what he calls the fast lane ignition. The answer was just 3 words.
I'm an inventor.
That's it. And that one short encounter just completely dismantled his worldview. The idea that wealth had to come from fame or incredible athletic talent or, winning the genetic lottery.
So our mission today is to unpack this core insight for you. That creating life-altering wealth doesn't have to be a 50-year grind of saving every penny and hoping the stock market plays nice.
The claim is pretty bold. It says it can be done in 5 years instead of 50, but only if you fundamentally change your financial roadmap.
Okay, let's unpack this then. A foundational concept here, one that really defines the roadmaps we're about to talk about, is this crucial difference between chasing an event and submitting to a process.
And what's fascinating here is how most people, how they view wealth creation. They see the headlines, the IPO, the lottery win, the big company sale.
The event.
The event, exactly. And these event chasers, the sidewalkers and slow laners we'll get to, they just think, wow, rich people got lucky.
But the self-made multimillionaires, they don't see it that way at all, do they?
Not even close. They know the reality is the opposite. Wealth is, it's forged. It comes through a really demanding, often brutal process of hard work, struggle, risk, and immense sacrifice.
So the success that we see is just the end result.
It's just the visible residue of that invisible process. The core wisdom here is, it's the potent one. Luck is the residue of process.
I think that is such a valuable distinction for you, our listener. When we see, say, a 20-year-old sell their internet company for $30 million, we just focus on the cash.
The event. We don't think about the years leading up to it. We ignore the 18-hour days coding, the rejections, the personal risk of funding the whole thing on credit cards.
Or that they were probably working out of a cold, dark garage.
Exactly. And if you try to skip that process, if you're looking for a wealth chauffeur to just drive you to the finish line, you miss the wisdom. You miss the personal growth you need to actually sustain the wealth when you get it. You can't outsource the journey.
So before we even get into these financial roadmaps, we need to sort of redefine the target. The source material argues that society's definition of wealth is actually pretty toxic.
It is. If you aim at that target, you're almost guaranteed to hit the wrong one.
So can you walk us through what true wealth really is?
Well, society has conditioned us to believe wealth is all about possessions. The expensive watch, the mansion, the Rolls Royce. But those are just trappings.
Right.
True wealth, the kind that brings genuine fulfillment, is defined by what the author calls the wealth trinity. These are the 3 fundamental Fs.
The 3 Fs.
First is family, which is really your relationships. Second is fitness, which is your health. And the third, the big one, is freedom, the freedom of choice.
And this is where it gets really important for everyone listening. If true wealth is that trinity, society pushes us towards something called faux wealth.
The art of looking rich versus being rich.
Exactly. And faux wealth is incredibly easy to get today thanks to, modern debt and credit.
Oh, absolutely. You take out a 6-year loan for an $80,000 luxury car. You haven't bought wealth. You've bought an impersonation of it. You've traded 6 years of your future for a present image.
And the irony here is just striking. This pursuit of unaffordable stuff, this faux wealth, it creates what the source calls lifestyle servitude.
Lifestyle servitude is basically a financial treadmill. You run faster, you get a higher paying job, but you never actually get anywhere.
Because the income just gets eaten up.
It's immediately absorbed by debt and lifestyle creep, and that forces you to stay enslaved to more work. It just systematically destroys real wealth, your freedom, your health, your relationships. You think you're buying status, but you're actually buying bondage.
That reframes the purpose of money completely. Used correctly, it isn't to buy a bigger house you only see on weekends. It should buy freedom.
The freedom to pursue your dreams, to strengthen your relationships, to choose how you spend your time without needing financial validation.
Without being tied to an alarm clock.
That choice, that's the real difference between a life of fulfillment and one of financial misery.
Okay, let's look at the three roadmaps, because they represent three different belief systems, each with its own wealth equation. We have the sidewalk, the slow lane, and the fast lane.
And we begin at the bottom with the sidewalk roadmap. This is predisposed to poorness. It's really the path of least resistance.
So what defines the sidewalker beyond just being broke?
It's a total absence of a plan. It's all driven by instant gratification. They mortgage tomorrow for today's pleasure.
And their wealth equation is?
Dangerously simple. Wealth equals income plus debt. Their lifestyle is just tied to what they make, plus a lot of debt for consumption, not investment.
That is disturbingly common. How widespread is this, really?
It's the majority.
Yeah.
Estimates suggest around 60% of adults live here. It's a state of a constant financial fragility. There was data that showed the median net worth for someone in their mid-30s to mid-40s was just $13,000.
Wow.
And that's excluding home equity. They are perpetually one disaster from broke.
One layoff, one medical bill.
One major car repair, and it all falls apart. And because they're unwilling to submit to a process, they refuse accountability. They blame everyone else. They laid me off. They raised my rent.
Okay, so let's move up to the next level. This is where almost all conventional financial advice lives. The slow lane roadmap. This is what the gurus preach.
The slow lane is definitely more responsible. I mean, it introduces saving, frugality, accountability, all good things. But it is fundamentally predisposed to mediocrity.
Because the core trait is sacrificing today.
For the distant, hypothetical hope of wealth. Usually at 65 or older, when your energy might not be what it was.
And the wealth equation here, it reflects that lack of control.
It's entirely linear.
Yeah.
And it's anchored by two things you can't really control: time and market returns. So the equation is wealth, JM plus market investments. Your potential is capped by your employer and what happens in the global economy.
The fundamental flaw here is what the source calls the criminal trade. Your job requires trading your time, your single most valuable, non-renewable asset, for money.
Precisely. It's the 5-for-2 trade. 5 days of servitude of trading your life for 2 days of weekend freedom. A slow laner's destiny is tied to their paycheck. They have almost no leverage, no control.
They're trading 5 units of life for 2 units of freedom.
It's a guaranteed negative 60% return on your most precious asset, year after year, for decades.
That math is genuinely disturbing. But wait a second. The slow lane works for millions of people, right? Isn't trading time for money the only reliable path for someone who doesn't have a huge business idea? I mean, what about the risk? The terrifying risk of failure in the fast lane.
And that's the critical objection. The slow lane feels safe because of that regular paycheck, but the source material argues it's just an illusion of safety that carries this astronomical hidden cost. Your time, your health, your youth. The risk in the slow lane is the near certainty that you will only reach financial freedom decades after your life energy has peaked.
And you have some stark math to illustrate that. Let's take a high earner, like a pharmacist making $95,000 a year. It would take them 11 years just to earn $1 million in total wages.
Right. But now, if they follow that slow lane advice and save 10% of that salary, it would take that pharmacist 105 years to save $1 million.
105 years.
And if you're a teacher earning, say, $46,000, the math is even more impossible. 22 years to earn $1 million, but 217 years to save $1 million at that same rate. The system is mathematically designed for delay.
So the slow lane is that guaranteed negative return on your time, creating lifestyle servitude. This brings us to the fast lane roadmap, which offers a completely different formula.
One that divorces wealth creation from time, and that leads to exponential growth. That's the key distinction. The fast lane is about leveraging systems so wealth accelerates exponentially, not one step at a time.
Collapsing a 50-year plan into 5 or 10.
At most. Yeah. And the fast lane equation is based on control and leverage, not salary. It's wealth, net profit plus asset value.
So net profit is driven by scale and magnitude, not the hours you put in.
Exactly. A job is linear income, capped. You get paid once for 1 hour of work. Exponential income is detached from your time. You build a system, a business, an app that can serve thousands or millions of customers at the same time.
So you work 1 hour on the system.
But you get paid a tiny fraction from each of those millions of customers. 24 hours a day, whether you're there or not. That's leverage.
And that focus on leverage explains the author's own breakthrough. He sold his first business for $1.2 million and realized he still wasn't rich. He didn't have freedom.
He just had a lump sum that could get eaten up by taxes and bad investments. So his experience, it really crystallized the true fast lane process. He repurchased the company for $250,000 and just ruthlessly focused on automation and scale.
He wasn't doing the work, he was building systems that did the work.
Exactly. And the outcome was he could reduce his personal labor from 10 hours a day down to eventually just an hour. And his income didn't shrink.
It grew exponentially, sometimes over $200,000 a month.
This is what he calls the money tree. It takes immense initial effort to plant. That's the process. But once it's established, it makes money 24/7. He was paid while he was sleeping, traveling, whatever. It only needed, he says, a few hours a month of water and sunshine to maintain, but it yielded this continuous, bountiful harvest.
So the fast lane distinction is that wealth accumulation happened quickly. He was multimillionaire by 33 because he used systems to get that exponential growth. He traded the massive risk of missing out on his life for the calculated risk of building a successful system. So let's bring this home for you, the listener. The key takeaway here is pretty simple. Wealth is not just money. It is the wealth trinity of family, fitness, and freedom.
And to get that, you have to reject the linear, long-term slow lane and adopt an exponential, process-driven approach.
Which means you first have to recognize that your current financial outcome is a direct result of your current roadmap. If you're unhappy, you have to stop.
You have to stop following conventional wisdom. That means changing your beliefs and choosing a new map. Remember the author's moment of clarity. It took the pain of a cold Chicago blizzard to throw me into the crossroads of life. Change often comes from realizing the current path is just unsustainable.
But that clarity has to be followed by action.
By accountability and rigorous process, absolutely. Let me leave you with this one provocative thought that really challenges the fundamental costs of the slow lane. There's a story about the world-renowned violinist, Joshua Bell. He once participated in an experiment. He played his $3.5 million Stradivarius violin in a busy D.C. train station during the morning commute. Out of 2,000 commuters, almost no one stopped to listen. They just rushed past. The tragedy wasn't the lack of applause. It was the fact that these commuters were so blinded, so enslaved by the slow lane's demands, that 5-for-2 trade, that they were oblivious to world-class splendor happening right in front of them.
So the real question is,
What moments of splendor, what parts of your actual life are you walking past every single day, believing that life only begins when that weekend furlough finally arrives?